I've lived so much of my life alone, portions of it either ostracized or even excluded from my peers and coworkers. Much of it my fault, to be honest. Sure, I go through phases where I'm a social butterfly. My military years were jam-packed with parties, nights out, and connections that the current me would find dizzying, even reckless. But ultimately, I'm a solitary creature. I love social gatherings, but in small spurts. A friend of mine from New Zealand once said that he and I were similar in that we may get along with people we meet, even be the life of the party from time to time, but we recharge in isolation. And that defines my existence. I cloak myself in social invisibility in order to recharge. But I'm living with someone whom I may be the only contact with for days at a time when I don't take her out or socialize her. And she's a different creature than me, needing to talk, needing to socialize. But just like me, socially awkward. The primary difference is that I am fully aware of my social awkwardness. Out here in this quiet rural setting, it sometimes feels suffocating. These gates here to this lovely little house are always closed, locked. The house feels like a castle, and the gate might as well be a moat to me. The doors to the house are often locked, even when we're both in it. I mean, out here, in the countryside. The curtains are almost always drawn to block out the sun or offer privacy. Mind you, this is over a half-piece acre of land, with no neighbors beside us to peer into the windows. Hell, I look out onto a coconut tree and farmland. Ultimately, the world is a scary place to her. If she only knew how scary it could be, how horrifying it really is, she'd probably go into a coma. But I can't live my life in fear. I wouldn't be able to function. Ironically, I must live my life with a heightened sense of caution on her behalf. You see, due to cognitive decline and what I suspect is early stages of dementia, or at the very least severe senility, I'm not really sure what's going on, and definitely mental illness, if I were to get into a car accident or fall off a ladder or render myself unconscious or injured to the point that it might be fatal, she wouldn't know how to call the authorities, thereby making it fatal. She wouldn't know the steps to take. The few neighbors we have are gone during the day. She would panic as I lay dying. So I am more cautious than I've ever been. Not for my sake, but for hers. I'm not being hyperbolic either. I'm being deadly serious. Out here in rural Thailand, where her panicked cries may or may not be heard. I sometimes find it so strange that I'm living in the kingdom out here, a man suffering from depression and mental illness, looking after a woman clearly suffering from the same, but with all the age-related cognitive issues that get piled up on top of that. Is this sustainable? I don't know. I'm trying to enjoy the little moments of tenderness or joy, the little flashes of unforced happiness I see in her, and this is what I want to remember, but we are two very different beings. It's not that speaking with her isn't meeting my social needs, it's that it actually drains my will to be social. If there's nothing to talk about, it's best not to. It's like new mothers who spend their days talking mostly to toddlers and going over the same things over and over and over again. Only children progress as they get older. This situation for me is as good as it's gonna get, right now. And this is why I've decided it's time to get all those house keys copied. Yesterday I returned home from 2 hours out and came back to a locked house, banging on the front door and the kitchen door for 10 minutes because her significant hearing loss that she refuses to admit that she has prevented her from hearing it. I'm going to have to find a way to persuade her to get to a hospital. Khon Kaen has at least 5 major hospitals, with Sinakarind Public Hospital ranking as the #1 hospital in Thailand by Newsweek magazine in 2021. It apparently has 1,500 beds and treats 1 million people a year. I find those numbers really staggering. I mentioned in a previous video that I spoke with a gentleman from Australia who was getting knee surgery here in Khon Kaen. By the time of this video, he's already long had that surgery. And it wasn't the fact that the prices were cheaper than they are in Australia. Indeed they are. Yeah, they're cheaper than in America, that's for sure. But that the surgeon was world renowned, and he chose her based on that fact. Now, with regards to my mom, I suspect that this is the reason, or one of the major reasons, why she chose Khon Kaen as her final home. It's a town neither of us were familiar with, and one I would not have thought ever to live or work in, despite having had colleagues move here and work here from Bangkok. But for today, I just need to be able to get in that house without having to bang on the door. So I drive to this guy here in a nearby town. close to the outskirts of Khon Kaen. It's a 24-hour copying locksmith service, and he's splayed out on the floor in full business casual dress, mind you, napping. I suspect it's a small operation and the service calls late at night are into the wee hours of the morning. I suspect this is what is causing him to take these naps. I don't know. I was there around, I guess, 10:30 a.m. or so, and he was napping. He told me that he would take at least 10 minutes to cut the keys, and I told him that I would go across the street to eat. This conversation was had in Thai, and I think I misunderstood him. I thought he was saying that it would take 10 minutes before the locksmith got there, because he just didn't appear to look. He didn't seem like he was a locksmith to me. When I showed him the keys, he looked at them like they were kryptonite. So I went across the street to get some food, and after about 40 minutes or so, I came back and saw him laid out on the floor again, napping. Mind you, this is in the shop. This being Thailand, I waited outside his shop on some benches and waited for the quote-unquote real locksmith to show up, unaware that this guy was the locksmith. When I finally couldn't wait anymore, I woke him up to tell him that I would leave and would try again another day. That is when he informed me that the keys had been copied already. So I guess he was the locksmith. It wasn't expensive either. It's actually quite a bit cheaper than what I was used to paying in Bangkok. I paid the guy, took my keys, and headed out. Now, I don't have a clue what the future is going to hold for us. Definitely, I suspect that there are going to be dark days ahead. These kinds of things don't always work out the way we want them to work out, but we still have to go through those experiences. Although I am not Buddhist, I have studied the religion a great deal. No matter what lives we're born into, no matter how rich we are, whether we're part of the aristocracy or we're a pauper, we're going to experience the same things. Aging, sickness, death. So yay, gotta go through it. But at least I got my keys. At least I got the first step done. Now I gotta figure out what to do with the rest of this existence. It is my hope to become more active with the Wat, or the temple that's here, and the village that we're in. I'm hoping that the community here is like this, and that we can find people that she can trust and maybe expand her social life and definitely get more of a support system going. Who knows? We're just going to take it one day at a time. If you enjoyed this wonderful little pep talk, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much, guys.